know that I will always grant the Wells 5, but not much more than that. I want to welcome all of our students, faculty and staff, alumna and alumni, parents and families, friends and guests, trustees and honorary trustees. Welcome to our grand celebration of the 150th anniversary of Wells College. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Jonathan Gibraltar, and I'm the 19th president of Wells College, and Lori and I want to welcome you here for this wonderful celebratory weekend. This weekend has included not only our October meeting of the Board of Trustees, but we also have Parents and Family Weekend, Fall and Alumni Weekend, and of course this 150th celebration. We have registered close to 200 alumna and alumni joining us for this celebration, over 250 parents and family members. In addition, we have retired and emeriti faculty, residents of the surrounding villages and towns, and other friends of the college, not to mention, of course, our students, faculty, and staff. I think we could easily say that during this weekend, the attendance at Wells College is going to exceed the population of the village of Aurora, right, Bonnie? Thank you for joining me this afternoon for this brief talk, and it will be just that, a brief talk. It's a beautiful day, and I'm sure that many of you would like to be out enjoying the sunshine and warmth. I saw about half of you say yes. And I'm going to touch upon a handful of historical milestones that have shaped this college over the past 150 years, but those who know me know that I'm not a historian. And this is not an in-depth exploration of 15 decades of Wells history, and I just saw some of you say, whew. I leave that to experts like Jane Marsh-Diekman, who's sitting in the balcony. An alumna from our class of 1955 who gave a marvelous overview this morning of the history of the buildings that dot the landscape of this college and the village of Aurora. For those of you who might not have been able to join her, these beautiful brochures with the history of all of these buildings are available, and Chris Pollack will give them to you as you leave. Jane is also the author of a book entitled Wells College, A History, which has been an invaluable resource for me and for anyone looking to know more about our 150-year history. I want to thank her and her 1955 classmate, Ann Parker Taylor, for their dedicated work over many years to preserve this history for many generations to come. You know, the walking tour that they developed was initially their 50th reunion gift in 2005. And now 13 years later, they've once again generously lent their time and talent to update their work in honor of the college's sesquicentennial. Think about it, all this from two alumna who graduated 63 years ago. Please give them another round of applause. A few weeks ago, I was looking out the window in my office, and I was imagining why Henry Wells found his way to Aurora, New York in 1850 and built Glen Park, which was to become his home. I was looking at a photo of a painting that resides in the Library of Congress. It was in a digital file. The painting is called Aurora, New York from the North Poplars. In this lithograph, I could see several homes as well as the Aurora Inn, Taylor House, a church. Taylor House at the time was the home of Henry Morgan and was later a preparatory school for girls. Henry was president of U.S. Telegraph Company and the brother of E.B. Morgan, who was himself instrumental in the founding of Wells College. I don't think there was a lot more here at that time, although I couldn't see much more from this painting. But I could see Cayuga Lake, and I imagine that Henry found his way to Aurora and decided to call it his home because this was truly a special place for him to retire and realize his dream. Certainly it was a beautiful and pastoral spot on the shore of Cayuga Lake with the same magnificent sunsets we still enjoy today. At that time, I got to tell you, it wasn't because it was easily accessible, as the local rail line wasn't built until 1874, and the first automobile wasn't sold until 1885. So it was no easy journey getting to Aurora. You all may know that Henry was born in 1805 and was a businessman. He was president of American Express and co-founder of Wells Fargo. When he arrived here, he built the Glen Park Mansion and set forth on his vision to create a women's seminary school. And in order to realize his vision, initially, well, it became a story about bricks. Ezra Cornell, who had founded Cornell University just a few years before in 1865, was building a public library in nearby Ithaca. Ezra was a member of the New York State Legislature at the time, and Henry reached out to Ezra because he just wanted to know where he got the bricks to build the library. So Ezra told him that he bought a press so that he could actually forge his own bricks, and Henry asked him if he could purchase the bricks from him to build the college's original main building. I think his response to Henry's request to be a fascinating chapter in our history, he wrote to Henry these words: "It is this, that instead of building a female seminary at Aurora, which would be but one of 100 like institutions scattered over our state, and which, though it flourished while you lived, and it was fostered by your care and judgment, might soon dwindle and droop when your fostering hand was withdrawn by death, build at Ithaca the Wells Female Department of the Cornell University, and thus aid us to engraft female education upon what I trust will be our highest educational institution in America." Well, the Wells Seminary for Women was founded in 1868. Thankfully, Ezra Cornell was wrong. Wells College neither dwindled nor drooped, and we come together in this special place called Aurora to celebrate this 150th anniversary. Jane again opens her book entitled Wells College, A History with the following, a quote which said, "Everyone said it was perfect summer weather on this gala day in Aurora." In the words of one newspaper account, the stifling heat of the previous week was much mitigated by a favorable breeze. The weather, always a factor of life in Wells College, cooperated fully on July 23, 1868, the inaugural day of Wells Seminary. Well, I have to tell you, on July 23, 2018, 150 years later, we hosted alumni events all around the country, and one was in the United Kingdom to celebrate that inaugural day. I hosted our celebration here in Aurora, right upstairs. It was hot. As we celebrate our 150th anniversary, I want to remind us of several traditions that have been the heart of a Wells education and of our community. I've been in higher education for over 32 years, and I've never been at a college where traditions mattered as much as they do at Wells, and also where traditions connect so many generations of alumna and alumni with our current students today. Over the past several years, I've been asked about the Honor Code and what it means to me. Each year, I attend the Honor Code signing ceremony, and I speak to our first-year students about the Honor Code, how important integrity is to every person, and why it matters to us today at Wells. I'm not sure if many are aware that the Collegiate Association and the system of self-governance that we have began in 1897. At that time, issues that ended up being dealt with were mostly around curfew, which was at 10 p.m., in the time I've been here, I've spoken to alumna, some of them could be sitting in this room, who violated the curfew rule. I've heard stories about some who've left doors to Maine propped open late at night. You know who you are. And those who even climbed in through windows, ambling up trees, trying not to be caught. You're laughing a little bit too hard. And some were caught, and they were severely admonished for these violations. See what you get for telling me your stories? Many told me of their travels back and forth to Cornell and Colgate to fraternize with the boys, and how much they loved coming to Wells on Saturday for the famous steak barbecues. You know, violating curfew was a serious infraction at the time, but I also realized that many of the boys and our Wells women got married and remember very fondly those days. So for some, if they hadn't violated the honor code, their lives could have taken a very different path. For our students today, I ask that you please not let these stories serve as an example. Other issues that the honor code dealt with were smoking on campus, the use of alcohol, which was prohibited and still is, by the way, cheating on exams. You see, the honor code meant something as it does today. More importantly, however, the honor code implied enormous trust placed in our students. Not only a trust that the college placed in our students, but a trust that our students placed in each other, because they would govern themselves. And the system was such that people would learn about the values of integrity, honesty, and embracing the trust placed upon them by others. Those values that today state that students will not lie, cheat, steal, or conceal, and if they observe this in their classmates, that they'll bring them to the awareness of the community court. Values that will guide them through their lives, both in and after their time at Wells College. Another tradition that began in 1926 was an academic convocation at the beginning of the new academic year, and it was referred to then as Founders and Builders Day. The students had a separate cap and gown day, which was the first time seniors got to wear their academic regalia. It was in the 1930s that these two events were combined. Today, the campus community gathers in front of Macmillan Hall, all around the circle, and it is a ceremony for first-year students to be welcomed to this community, while seniors wear their academic regalia for the first time, and our faculty have an opportunity to join them. When I first arrived at Wells, I asked a student why wearing regalia was so important to her. Why wear regalia a full 9 months before commencement? This was truly new to me. She said something that forever had an impact. She said, actually, almost as if it was an affront to her, she said, academic regalia is a symbol of the degree attainment of our faculty, who we deeply respect. We wear our regalia out of respect for them and as an aspirational goal to guide our own academic lives. I got it, right? When she said that to me, I really understood. In addition, alumni light candles. The flame is passed around the circle from alum to students to keep the light burning brightly with the spirit of Wells. Finally, all students run across the campus, cross Route 90, and those brave enough jump into a very cold Cayuga Lake. And I try to imagine why they do this, and okay, I say to myself, tradition. Tradition is really strong at Wells. So the last 2 years, I actually went down to the lake, and I found out something really interesting. Not too many actually jump in the water. And I asked a student, why are so many of you standing here? Why don't you jump in the lake? And he said, the water's freezing. And I said to myself, tradition balanced by good old common sense. There are many other important traditions at Wells, including odd even, class rings modeled after Henry Wells' own signet ring, bells and bell ringers. As we were coming into the building, I said to Lori, they're playing Hey Jude on the carillon. How cool. And of course, the tradition of singing the alma mater. Traditions connect the many generations of alumni who've graduated from this college in a way that honestly I've never seen before. There's such a strong connection to Wells College, and also such a strong and enduring connection to one another. I see this connection each year at reunion and at fall and alumni weekend. I see it as I travel across the country and meet the many alumna and alumni who love their alma mater so deeply. And honestly, I see it every day as I talk to our students. They too value tradition, and they also value that Wells is small, and they have an opportunity to really come to know themselves and one another in a way they might not have been able to at a larger university. They come to value their faculty not just as teachers, but as mentors who have a profound influence on their lives. In such a small place, students have a faculty member for more than just one class over their 4 years. Many of our faculty advise and mentor our students long after they graduate from Wells, and I know this to be true because I've heard it so many times. The students who in graduate school and beyond stay connected to their faculty at Wells. Well, it should come as no surprise to any of you that times have changed. Look around you at the many people who walk through their day, looking at the small screen in front of their faces. But at Wells, our faculty expect our students to live their lives by engaging with them and engaging with each other. I had a lunch with a group of students recently, and several of them commented that they feel a connection at Wells. They could not believe that the faculty and staff actually knew their names. These were first-year students who had been here about 2 weeks, were saying to me that they were shocked that when they walked across campus, people knew their names. Mentorship is something that really matters at Wells, that close personal relationship that our faculty and staff have with our students truly defines this fine institution. During my time at Wells, and it's hard to believe it's been over 3 years, as I speak to our alumni and I speak to our students, there appears to be one single thread that transverses the full 150 years, albeit I haven't spoken to anybody from the class of 1868 lately. And it comes down to a connection that is often difficult for many of them to describe. When I ask people why they chose Wells, so many tell me that the first time they set foot on this campus, they had a feeling that this was the right place for them. Many alums tell me that any stress in their day-to-day lives melts away when they're coming down the hill and they start to see Cayuga Lake and Wells College coming into view. When I speak to our students today, they tell me that it just felt right to them, albeit too many of them tell me that it's the lake. I'm still hoping that they're going to start telling me it's the academic program that keeps them here. So they talk about the lake, the geese, the traditions, that they love that Wells is small and they get to know their faculty and their fellow students. However, at the core of all of this is the way in which Wells College touches their heart and how that feeling has stayed with them for so many years. That's why so many are devoted to Wells after they graduate, because even years later, many tell me that Wells College is where they found themselves. It's where they found out who they are and how they want to relate to the world around them. It's where they found inner peace and a sense of purpose. It's where they found their voice and a direction for their lives. You may have had an opportunity to join us at our panel discussion on Thursday with NPR educational correspondent Claudio Sanchez. One of the many pieces of sage advice he shared was that colleges should grow their own supporters. In other words, the very best supporters are the ones who love us most. Our students, our alumni, the parents of our students, and others who are just close friends to this college. I see every day the love that our alums and students have for this college. I see it, I feel it, I hear it all the time. Mr. Sanchez reiterated several times, times have changed. The demography of our state and our nation has changed. And similarly, our college has changed and will continue to change. While it may seem counterintuitive to many, the number of first-generation college students is actually on the rise. The population of college-bound high school graduates is on the decline. The New York Times reported in 2014 that the proportion of high school graduates who go on to college was on the decline, and at that time it was at about 65%. Today, it's less than 50% of high school graduates go on to any college at all. In part, the number of children being born and attending secondary school has been on the decline, so it is a demographic change as well. However, there was a time that many of you can remember when a college education was seen as a necessary investment. While today many view a college education as an expense with potential long-term consequences. In addition, of the roughly 60% who attend college, about 50% go to public colleges and universities because the cost of a private education is out of their reach. There are 250 public and private colleges in New York State, and the competition for students, as you can well imagine, is fierce. In addition, recently the state of New York announced free tuition to any public college, which has made competition even more intense. In part, this led to our recent decision to lower tuition by 25%. Keeping close track of market trends and our higher education competitors, we realized that our tuition price was set too high. At that price, many young people and their families who otherwise might have looked at Wells for an education were turning away from us because of the cost. Our goal is to increase enrollment so that we can provide access to the fine quality of education that all of you know is at this college to many more people. I want to assure you that lowering tuition will not impact the high quality of education at this college. A report written in 2017 by the Deloitte Center for Higher Education highlighted some other demographic shifts that we talk about and think about every day. Nationally, 52% who graduate from college are the first in their families to complete college. 51% are from low to moderate income families. 43% are age 24 or more. 42% are from communities of color. 30% attend college part-time. 26% worked full-time while enrolled in college, and another 18% are non-native English speakers. For the first time at Wells, our population of commuter students is on the rise, and the numbers of students who attend Wells who work either part-time or full-time as well is on the rise. These shifts bring about challenges in how best to provide an education. Traditional lecture-based learning has to be replaced by tailoring the curriculum to individual learners and focusing on their competencies. In addition, it is reported that blended education, combining in-person instruction with asynchronous, self-paced online learning, actually is most effective. In part, this is referred to as flipping the classroom, where students absorb course materials outside of the class. Our alumni, as I've been traveling, have asked me whether we're using online learning at Wells, and well, we are. Of course, some of them want part-time jobs they'd like to teach for us. The majority of our faculty have all of their curricular materials available through an online portal called Moodle. They interact and provide resources to our students. Several years ago, we actually hired a specialist in curricular design for online courses, and we're continuing to develop this modality. The study also found that adaptive learning using analytics to tailor learning to a current student's current level of mastery to be more effective than the model where we just assume that every student, when they're in a class, is at the same level and progresses through that class at the same rate. We need to assist students more than ever before with support services, especially in helping them to understand the financial aid cycle and the consequences of student debt. The lack of financial resources is a major reason nationally why students drop out of college. It is a huge impediment today. In 2014, you better hang on to your seats. In 2014, 30% of all students who started college in the United States did not return for their second year. Many of them report it was because of the cost of education. We have to offer timely tutoring and coaching to students to keep them from falling behind. We have to provide peer-to-peer tutoring, which we do. At Wells, we now have a college writing center and a career and advisement center to meet our students' needs more fully. The point to be made here is that we need to fully understand our students, those that will be coming to Wells, so that we can meet their needs both academically and socially. Sadly, and I know that some of you will understand what I'm saying right now, many young people don't know the value of a liberal arts education, and some don't even know what the liberal arts are. I remember a time when many parents encouraged their children to attend college and receive an education for education's sake. The belief was that the more highly educated a person was, the further they would go in life, and there are data that support that. Today, these data still exist, and there is a positive correlation between college completion and earning potential, which increases as one attends graduate or professional school. However, and I said this before, high cost can be a barrier, and certainly the Wall Street Journal consistently reminds us that for the first time in our history, college debt has exceeded credit card debt in our country. I believe that the liberal arts truly matter, and that is not going to change here at Wells. Even though we've added career-focused programs such as business and health science, these programs are imbued with the core of our liberal arts education. In addition, and very important to this talk, is that we've continued the very important tradition where relationships matter. Several years ago, our faculty and staff and our trustees had an opportunity to meet Brandon Bustede, who at that time worked for the Gallup organization. In 2015, Gallup partnered with Purdue University and surveyed 30,000 of their alumni. The results were enlightening in light of what I just spoke about. The survey asked alumni if they felt their education was worth the cost. Alumni were twice as likely to believe it was worth it if their professors cared about them as people, and if they had at least one professor who made them excited about learning, and if they had a mentor who encouraged them to pursue their dreams. Honestly, what Gallup and Purdue are saying here is what defines and has always defined an education at Wells. Our professors care deeply about our students as people and encourage them to pursue their lifelong dreams. Our professors are mentors to our students while they're here and long after they graduate. I've even met retired Wells faculty who have lifelong friendships with our students because they were such powerful mentors for them. In addition, our professors have made their students excited about learning. I've consistently been impressed with our faculty and the manner in which they engage our students. Classes are small and meet as seminars, much like graduate school. Infrequently do our faculty lecture to students, like I'm doing right now. Our students are required to have at least one internship experience, and some have more than one. Our students are required to do a senior thesis, which is an in-depth project that spans an entire semester, and there are many research studies that clearly demonstrate that a project that spans an entire semester or even a full year provides a deeper level of learning than the traditional model where students take exams or write papers on many different topics within a course. So this capstone experience, where I've heard many of you shudder when you think back to what that meant to you during your time at Wells, is truly still so important today. And I've read several of our students' papers, and the work they do is still very impressive. The point I'm making is that as we stand here at the celebration of our 150th anniversary, we find that the world has changed. Young people and the manner in which they access education has changed. Even Wells College has changed in so many ways. However, 150 years later, the true essence of what Henry Wells created remains true today. This is a college home. That was his dream. And the connections that exist between our students, faculty, staff, and our alumni truly make this feel like home to so many. While Wells is such a beautiful physical place, and it is, so much of the Wells experience exists in the hearts of so many people. And for that reason, I'm honored to be a part of history as we define what the next 150 years might be. Thank you. I now have a public service announcement. If any of you are parked out in the McMillan Circle, we ask that you please move your cars because we're having a parade, and the Wells Fargo carriage and our parade is going to be walking along that circle, and right now we have a couple of vehicles who are blocking the way. We have many sporting events this afternoon, but in particular, I point you to the Summer Center preview at 2:30. Where we'll be giving people a preview of what this new student center funded by our generous alumni and foundations is going to look like. Won't be reopened officially until December, January. We're going to line up at 3:45 by Dodge for our parade. We're going to have a community picnic dinner at the dining hall and out into the tent from 5:15 to 7:15. Back here at 7:30, we're going to have original poems that were created specifically for our 150th read by Professor Emeriti Bruce Bennett and Daniel Rosenberg. We then will be honored to hear the Syracuse Symphoria, who are going to be performing pieces by all female composers. And then tonight, and you all have a role in this, keep thinking good thoughts about the weather. Fireworks over the lake. Thank you again, everybody. Have a wonderful day.